The iPad mini is about to get the biggest upgrade it's seen in years. And honestly, if these leaks are accurate, this might be the most exciting small tablet Apple has ever made. We're talking OLED screens, water resistance, flagship chips, and a complete rethinking of what a compact iPad can actually do. This isn't just another spec bump. This is Apple finally taking the mini seriously again. Let me be upfront about something. I love my iPad Pro. It's my workhorse for serious content creation, design projects, and heavy multitasking. But the iPad mini? That's always been my favorite for everything else. It's the tablet I grab when I'm just browsing, watching videos, scrolling through social media, reading books, or taking quick notes. It fits in one hand comfortably. It's genuinely portable in a way larger iPads just aren't. You can throw in a bag without thinking twice. Use it on a crowded subway without feeling awkward. Read in bed without your arms getting tired. The Mini has always been the underdog in Apple's iPad lineup, but it's the one that actually fits into real life the easiest. And now, according to multiple leaks and supply chain reports, Apple is preparing to give the 8th generation iPad Mini some genuinely major improvements. When you look at the patterns Apple has been following with display technology, chip performance, and overall device efficiency across their product line, it becomes pretty clear that this next Mini could be one of the most significant upgrades the line has ever received. Let's start with the display because this is huge. Sources from Mac Rumors and various supply chain insiders are suggesting that the new iPad mini will finally ditch its current LCD screen and move to OLED. This is a massive change. LCD has been a standard for the mini since forever, but OLED is a completely different technology. You get deeper blacks because pixels can actually turn off completely. You get better contrast ratios. Colors look more vibrant and accurate. Response times are faster. And perhaps most importantly for a portable device, OLED is more energy efficient, which should translate to better battery life. Now, this won't be the same dual-layer tandem OLED technology that Apple uses in the iPad Pro. That's extremely expensive and probably overkill for the mini size and target price point. But even a standard OLED panel would be transformative for this device. Watching videos would look dramatically better. Reading text would be easier on the eyes. Gaming would feel more immersive. The whole device would just feel more premium without Apple having to completely redesign the chassis. What's interesting here is that Apple seems to be skipping the iPad Air for OLED, at least for now. They're jumping straight to the Mini. This tells you something about Apple's strategy. They're clearly trying to make the Mini more appealing and differentiate it from the Air in meaningful ways. Whether the Air gets OLED next year remains to be seen, but right now, this move positions the Mini as having a better display than Apple's mid-tier tablet. That's bold. Beyond just switching to OLED, there's speculation that Apple might increase the refresh rate. The current Mini sits at 60 Hz, which is fine but feels dated when you're used to smoother displays. The iPad Pro has promotion at 120 Hz, which makes everything feel incredibly fluid. Now, the Mini probably won't get full 120 Hz promotion. That's typically reserved for Pro devices. But even jumping to 90 Hz would make a noticeable difference. Scrolling through apps, swiping between pages, navigating the interface. Everything would feel smoother and more responsive. It bridges the gap between the Mini and higher-end iPads without fully closing it, which makes sense from a product positioning standpoint. Apple has been pushing smoother displays across their entire mobile ecosystem over the past few years. Even mid-range iPhones are getting higher refresh rates now. So it would make sense for the Mini to follow that trend, especially if they're already upgrading to OLED. The combination of OLED and a higher refresh rate would make this feel like a genuinely premium device rather than a budget compact option. Now let's talk performance, because this is where things get really interesting. The leaks are pointing to the A19 Pro chip being included in the iPad Mini 8. That's the same processor Apple is using in the iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max models. This is flagship-level performance in a small tablet form factor. The current iPad Mini uses the A17 Pro, which is already plenty fast. But jumping to the A19 Pro means this device won't just handle everyday tasks effortlessly. It'll support advanced features that require serious processing power. We're talking on device AI capabilities without needing constant cloud processing. Augmented reality applications that can run smoothly without lag. Resource-intensive gaming at high settings. Complex productivity apps running multiple tasks simultaneously. Video editing, photo processing, music production. Whatever you throw at this thing, it should handle it without breaking a sweat. This essentially future-proofs the device for several years. You won't be looking at this tablet in 2 years thinking it feels slow or outdated. Now, there's a caveat here. The GPU in the iPad mini's A19 Pro chip will likely be slightly scaled down compared to the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Apple does this sometimes to manage heat and battery life in different form factors. But for the vast majority of users, this difference will be completely imperceptible. You're still getting what feels like a flagship-grade device in a pocket-sized package. The processing power on tap here is kind of insane when you think about the physical size of this tablet. Here's where things get really surprising. Multiple sources are suggesting that Apple might make the iPad Mini 8 water-resistant. This would be a first for the Mini line, and honestly a first for any iPad in this size category. Water resistance on a tablet might not seem like a huge deal at first, but think about how you actually use these devices. You're watching content while cooking in the kitchen, reading by the pool during summer, using it in the bathroom, taking notes during a coffee shop run where spills happen. Having genuine water resistance means you don't have to baby this device or panic if something splashes on it. The rumored water resistance rating isn't specified in the leaks, but if Apple follows the pattern they use for iPhones, we're probably looking at IP68 or something similar. That means it can handle being submerged briefly and definitely won't care about rain, splashes, or humid environments. For a device that's meant to be portable and used everywhere, this is a genuinely practical upgrade that changes how confidently you can use it. Alongside water resistance, Apple is reportedly completely redesigning the speaker system using vibration-based audio technology. This is fascinating from an engineering standpoint. Traditional speakers need grills and openings in the chassis, which create potential weak points for water ingress and dust accumulation. Vibration-based speakers work differently. They vibrate the internal structure or screen to produce sound, eliminating the need for traditional speaker grills. This not only helps with water resistance by reducing openings in the body, but it also improves durability and creates a cleaner exterior design. The sound quality from vibration-based systems has improved dramatically in recent years. Some smartphones using this technology actually produce better audio than traditional tiny speakers. If Apple can implement this well on the Mini, you get clearer sound, better bass response, and a more immersive audio experience for watching videos or listening to music. Plus, the device would look more elegant without visible speaker grills breaking up the design lines. These hardware changes are substantial, but Apple's plans apparently extend beyond just physical components. The software side matters just as much, maybe even more. By leveraging the latest iPad OS advancements, Apple could significantly enhance multitasking capabilities, note-taking features, and overall app fluidity. The A19 Pro chip has the power to run advanced features that older chips couldn't handle smoothly. Apple Intelligence is a big part of this equation. That's Apple's AI system that's rolling out across their devices. With the A19 Pro chip, the iPad Mini 8 would be fully capable of running Apple Intelligence features on device. We're talking personalized recommendations based on how you actually use the tablet. Smarter Siri responses that understand context better. Seamless integration with other Apple devices in your ecosystem. The ability to process complex requests without sending everything to the cloud. For a device this portable, having powerful AI capabilities running locally is huge. You're not dependent on having a perfect internet connection to get intelligent features. The tablet can understand your habits, predict what you need, and help you work more efficiently without constantly phoning home to Apple servers. This makes the Mini feel less like a consumption device and more like a genuine productivity tool that happens to be incredibly portable. The integration with the broader Apple ecosystem should also improve significantly. If you have an iPhone, Mac, Apple Watch, and other Apple devices, The Mini becomes a seamless part of that network. Universal clipboard, handoff, continuity features, AirDrop, all of it works better when the device has modern hardware and software. The Mini could serve as a control hub for your smart home, a second screen for your Mac, a reference display while you work on your iPhone, or a dozen other roles depending on what you need in the moment. Now let's talk timing, because this is where expectations need to be managed. Initial rumors suggested an early 2026 launch, which would have been pretty soon. But more recent leaks are pointing to Q3 2026, which means sometime between July and September. That's a bit further out than people were hoping. But if the rumors are accurate about what Apple is packing into this device, the wait might actually be worthwhile. Developing and implementing OLED displays takes time, especially if Apple is working with new suppliers or custom specifications. Getting water resistance right requires extensive testing and engineering. Integrating the A19 Pro chip and optimizing iPad OS to take full advantage of it isn't trivial. If Apple is doing all of this simultaneously, a Q3 2026 release makes sense from a development timeline perspective. Rushing a product to market before it's ready rarely ends well, and Apple generally prefers to take the time needed to get things right. Pricing is always a critical question with Apple products. The current 7th generation iPad Mini starts at around $499 for the base storage configuration. The 8th generation will almost certainly cost more given all the upgrades being packed in. Leaks suggest a price increase of somewhere between $50 and $100, which would put the starting price at $549 to $599. That's not cheap for a small tablet, but it's still significantly more affordable than an iPad Air or iPad Pro. Consider what you're getting for that price. An OLED display that rivals much more expensive tablets. Flagship-level performance from the A19 Pro chip. Water resistance that no other tablet this size offers. Improved audio from redesigned speakers. Full Apple Intelligence capabilities. When you add it all up, the pricing actually seems reasonable relative to what Apple charges for other devices with similar features. An iPad Pro with OLED and top-tier performance starts at over $1,000. Getting many of those same benefits in a more portable package for half the price or less is genuinely competitive. Of course, this pricing puts the Mini in an interesting position within Apple's iPad lineup. It might actually cannibalize some iPad Air sales if people decide they'd rather have the Mini's premium features in a smaller package rather than the Air's larger screen with lesser specs. Apple has dealt with product overlap before, but this could create some internal competition that forces them to rethink the Air's positioning. Maybe that's why the Air isn't getting OLED yet. Apple needs to maintain clear differentiation between models. So who should be excited about the iPad Mini 8? And who might want to sit this one out? If you currently own a 6th generation iPad Mini, the jump to the 8th generation represents a massive upgrade. You're going from LCD to OLED, from older chip architecture to cutting-edge performance, from no water resistance to full protection, from standard speakers to advanced audio. That's worth waiting for if your current Mini still works, but feels a bit long in the tooth. If you have the 7th generation iPad Mini that just came out relatively recently, the decision is trickier. The 7th gen already has the A17 Pro chip, which is very fast. The improvements in the 8th generation are meaningful, but maybe not essential unless you specifically want OLED, water resistance, or the absolute latest chip. You'll need to ask yourself honestly whether those features are worth the upgrade cost and the hassle of selling or trading in your current device. For some people, yes, absolutely. For others, the 7th gen might be perfectly adequate for another year or two. For people who don't currently own any iPad, the Mini 8 could be an incredibly compelling entry point into the ecosystem. It offers flagship features in the most portable form factor Apple makes. You're not making major compromises to get that portability. You're getting a genuinely premium device that happens to be small. If you travel frequently, commute regularly, or just prefer having a tablet that doesn't dominate your bag and desk space, the Mini has always been the answer. Now it's the answer with basically no downsides from a specs perspective. The use cases for a device like this are broader than people sometimes realize. Sure, it's great for casual browsing, watching videos, and reading books. Those are the obvious applications. But with flagship-level performance and full iPad OS capabilities, the Mini 8 becomes viable for actual work. You can edit documents, manage spreadsheets, respond to emails, participate in video calls, edit photos, even do light video editing in apps like LumaFusion. Artists can use it with an Apple Pencil for sketching and digital painting on the go. Students can take notes during lectures, annotate PDFs, and study from textbooks without lugging around a larger iPad. The gaming potential is also significant. With the A19 Pro chip and potentially a higher refresh rate display, this becomes a serious mobile gaming device. You can play graphically intensive titles at high settings. Competitive games benefit from the smoother refresh rate. The compact size makes it comfortable to hold for extended gaming sessions in a way that larger iPads just aren't. Combined with Apple Arcade or regular App Store games, the Mini 8 could be one of the best portable gaming devices available regardless of platform. From a design perspective, combining an OLED display with higher refresh rates, a water-resistant chassis, and improved speakers makes the 8th generation Mini feel like a complete evolution rather than just a typical refresh cycle. This is an Apple making the minimum changes necessary to call it a new generation. They're actually rethinking what this device should be and how people use it in real life. That kind of comprehensive upgrade is rare for the Mini line, which has often felt like an afterthought in Apple's iPad strategy. The integration of the A19 Pro chip and optimized iPad OS elevates the device's capabilities to a level rarely seen in this price tier and size category. You're essentially getting iPad Pro-level performance in a body that's dramatically more portable. Add in Apple's continued focus on ecosystem connectivity, AI features, and smooth multitasking, it becomes clear that this iPad Mini isn't just about keeping the line alive. It's about redefining what a small tablet can deliver in 2026 and beyond. As the months progress and more leaks and official confirmation surface, potential buyers should start planning their approach. Do you upgrade immediately when it launches? Do you wait for reviews to confirm the leaks are accurate? Do you balance your needs across the iPad Mini, Air, and Pro models depending on your workflow, travel habits, and media consumption patterns? These are legitimate questions worth considering, especially if you're already invested in the Apple ecosystem and trying to figure out which device fits your life best. With all the innovations rumored here, from the display technology to the chip performance to the water resistance implementation, the iPad Mini 8 could very well become Apple's most talked about compact tablet in years. It appeals to a broad range of users who want premium features in a pocketable form factor without paying pro-level prices. This signals that Apple is serious about keeping the Mini line relevant, exciting, and highly functional for years to come rather than letting it languish as a forgotten product category. Here's my honest take after looking at all these leaks and thinking about how the iPad Mini fits into Apple's broader strategy. This is the upgrade the Mini has desperately needed for years. Apple has let this product line coast for too long on minimal updates and incremental improvements. The 6th and 7th generation models were fine, but unremarkable. They kept the Mini alive, but didn't make compelling arguments for why someone should choose it over other tablets or even large smartphones. The 8th generation changes that calculation completely. If these rumors prove accurate, this becomes a device with legitimate advantages over everything else in its category. The combination of premium features, flagship performance, and genuine portability creates a product that fills a specific niche better than any alternative. Yes, it'll cost more than budget tablets, but you're getting exponentially more capability and longevity. Yes, large phones can do some similar tasks, but try reading a book or watching a movie on a phone for an extended period and you'll remember why tablets exist. The water resistance aspect alone could be a game changer for how people use and think about the Mini. Right now, tablets feel fragile and precious. You're always worried about spills, splashes, and environmental damage. Making the Mini genuinely resistant to water changes the psychological relationship you have with the device. You can use it more freely, in more places, without constant worry. That freedom translates to actually getting more utility and enjoyment from the product. The OLED display is long overdue. Once you've used OLED screens on phones or high-end tablets, going back to LCD feels like a downgrade. The deeper blacks, better contrast, and improved colors make a real difference in daily use. For watching videos, which is a primary use case for tablets, OLED is dramatically better. For reading, especially in darker environments, OLED is easier on the eyes. Even just navigating the interface feels more premium when the display has that OLED pop. And the A19 Pro chip ensures this device won't feel outdated in 2 or 3 years. That's always been a concern with iPad purchases. You spend hundreds of dollars on a tablet and hope it lasts a reasonable amount of time before feeling slow. With cutting-edge silicon, the Mini 8 should remain fast and capable for at least 4 or 5 years of regular use. That's excellent value when you consider the total cost of ownership. If Apple executes this properly, the iPad Mini 8 could be the most important product launch in the Mini's history. It could reinvigorate interest in small tablets, which have fallen out of favor as phones got bigger. It could attract new users who've been waiting for Apple to take the Mini seriously. It could convince current Mini owners that upgrading is worthwhile. Most importantly, it could cement the Mini's place in Apple's lineup as a legitimate premium option rather than a budget afterthought. The timing of a Q3 2026 launch also makes strategic sense. It gives Apple time to nail the implementation, build sufficient inventory to meet demand, and position the launch away from the chaos of iPhone and Mac refresh cycles. A summer or early fall launch means the Mini gets its moment in the spotlight rather than being overshadowed by bigger product announcements. That dedicated attention could help drive awareness and sales. Of course, all of this assumes the leaks are accurate, which is never guaranteed until Apple makes official announcements. But the sources reporting this information have solid track records, and the leaked details align with Apple's broader product strategies and technology roadmaps. It all adds up to a coherent picture of what Apple is planning. Barring major changes or delays, this is likely close to what we'll actually see when the iPad Mini 8 launches. For anyone who loves compact tablets, appreciates Apple's ecosystem integration, or just want a powerful portable device that isn't a phone or laptop, the iPad Mini 8 represents something genuinely exciting. It's not just another iterative update with minor spec bumps. It's a comprehensive reimagining of what the Mini can be when Apple actually commits resources and attention to making it exceptional. If you've been on the fence about getting an iPad Mini, this is almost certainly the generation worth waiting for. If you found this deep dive into the iPad Mini 8 leaks valuable and want to stay updated as more information emerges and eventually when Apple makes official announcements, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss future videos covering not just iPad news, but all the major Apple product launches, leaks, and analysis throughout the year. Share this video with anyone who might be interested in the iPad Mini or who's trying to decide which iPad makes sense for their needs. And drop a comment below with your thoughts on these Leah. Guys, are you excited about OLED and water resistance on the Mini? Do you think the pricing will be worth it? Would you choose the Mini 8 over an iPad Air or even a Pro model? I'm curious to hear what the community thinks because this is shaping up to be one of the most interesting iPad launches in recent memory. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.